Hey, we're doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, Dallas, Texas, Austin, Texas, Baltimore, Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Again, what these confirmation hearings have been showing is how corrupt your government is. Not Tulsi, not RFK, not Kash Patel, but how corrupt the senators are. You know, the people who are elected for 6 years. So here she goes. Here's her opening statement.
I'm honored and grateful to President Trump for his trust and confidence in nominating me to serve our country as the Director of National Intelligence at a time when trust in the intelligence community, unfortunately, is at an all-time low. Chuck Schumer admitted a few years ago, quote, "You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you."
And I'm going to take credit for popularizing that clip. Everybody always quotes that clip now because I was the one who started showing it. And why do you got to brag like that? Because if I don't tell you, nobody else will. Okay. Thank you.
Guess what, buddy? You're going to be on your 5th way from Sunday pretty soon.
That's right. I'm on my 5th way. So anyway.
For too long, faulty, inadequate, or weaponized intelligence have led to costly failures and the undermining of our national security and God-given freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. The most obvious example of one of these failures is our invasion of Iraq based upon a total fabrication or complete failure of intelligence.
Oh.
This disastrous decision led to the deaths of tens of thousands of American soldiers.
Oh, yeah, people. So I love that. So she's letting you know that, hey, we all agree that our intelligence community completely lied to us about Iraq. Just so you know. So they're not sacrosanct, which is what the senators want people to believe.
There's millions of people in the Middle East, mass migration, destabilization, and undermining of the security and stability of our European allies, the rise of ISIS, strengthening of Al-Qaeda and other Islamist jihadist groups, and strengthening Iran. Here are just a few other examples. The American people elected Donald Trump as their president not once but twice, and yet the FBI and intelligence agencies were politicized by his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin. Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, using a Clinton campaign-funded false dossier as their so-called evidence.
So she's laying out all the lies and crimes in recent history that the intelligence community has committed. They lied to the FISA court 17 times so they could put a tap on Donald Trump's phone and everybody in his campaign's phone.
Well, that's a lot of effort. The only failure on the intelligence community's part I can think of like lamer than this is the 600 attempts on Castro.
Yeah.
Losers.
Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election.
Oh, yeah. Even more recent. 51 CIA guys said that Hunter Biden's laptop was some kind of Russian op instead of what it was.
Earmarks. I thought I saw some earmarks.
It had all the hallmarks.
Yeah, a Russian information dump. Russia could have pooped that information to us. You don't know.
Former DNI James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records.
Do you remember that? You remember when James Clapper went in front of Congress and they asked him, "Do you collect data, mass data on the?" He said, "No, we don't." Not wittingly,
yeah.
And that was a lie.
Oh, by the way, all the stupid spy movies everybody loves, that was to imprint in your subconscious that it's good these people are there, unaccountable to anyone. Because governments are stupid. Remember MIB, they explained to Will Smith, the great Will Smith, they go, we have to be above the government because they're so dumb, and the people because they're too stupid. Just an uncommon Will Smith mind.
Never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible. Under Biden, the FBI abused its power for political reasons to try to surveil Catholics who attend traditional Latin Mass, labeling them as quote-unquote radical traditionalist Catholics. Personally, just 24 hours after I criticized Kamala Harris and her nomination, I was placed on a secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. Sadly, there are more examples. The bottom line is this must end. President Trump's re-election is a clear mandate from the American people to break this cycle of failure, end the weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community, and begin to restore trust in those who've been charged with the critical task of securing our nation.
Well said.
I like that she looks like X-Men right there. Like it looks like I'm watching X-Men 2. She looks like a powerful mutant leader with one white streak and a white costume.
I like that. She's wearing white in January. It's a lot of balls. I think she pulls it off. I say she makes about as much sense as anyone who still uses the word Islamist could possibly accomplish.
I like Mohammedan myself.
There's so many great things about Tulsi. She's like the love of your dreams, except for the fact that she farts and snores and when she's sleeping. You know what I mean? It's like one of those.
What? That's what I'm into, Jimmy. Don't put a nickel in my back with that.
But she's great on like that right there. And she's going to go on and do. She says things that nobody else in government will say. So that's why I've always admired Tulsi. Always liked her a lot. And yeah, she's flawed, just like all people are flawed, and especially people in government. But she's the best we got.
For this job at the moment, yeah, I would say so.
For this job at the moment, there's nobody I would want in this job besides her. Former Representative Tulsi Gabbard told the Senate Intelligence Committee she would end politicization of the Intelligence Committee and rebuild trust through transparency if confirmed as Director of the National Intelligence, as she seeks to quell wide-ranging concerns about her foreign travel, statements about Russia war and Ukraine. Okay. So, by the way, trust through transparency. What's amazing to me... Anyway, who cares? Why isn't this working? This isn't working. Uh-oh. Oh, now it is. But senators of both parties questioned Gabbard, one of Trump's most embattled cabinet picks, on her history of defending Russian President Vladimir Putin, her praise of National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden, who shared sensitive... Okay, so yeah, I mean, those... Again, they're attacking her for the good things she does. That's the same thing with RFK. They attacked him for suing big pharma companies and winning. They attacked them for the good things, not the bad things. They agree with her on all the bad things. Max Blumenthal says, for the first time, a national U.S. audience heard about one of the greatest national security scandals in the 21st century, as Tulsi Gabbard details the CIA's Timber Sycamore, which armed the organization responsible for 9/11 and ultimately was placed in power in Syria. So nobody else. This is the Democratic Party. They throw you under the bus for everything you got right. Here we go. Watch this.
Sir Kelly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel Gabbard, when Russia was denying us use of chemical weapons, they accused the U.S. of supporting terrorists. This is a line that Putin used frequently during the Syrian civil war as he supported Assad. Syrian officials made similar...
So now what this guy is doing is lying and attacking someone for being honest and truthful. So this is he an astronaut? Should have stayed up.
That's what that is?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think he was an astronaut. I could be wrong.
Comments, they did it repeatedly. They did it in public. They did it at the United Nations. In 2016, you gave an interview in which you said, and this is a quote, the U.S. is providing direct and indirect support to terrorist groups in order to overthrow the Syrian government. And
you know why she said that, asshole?
It's in Hillary's emails?
Because they did. Because the United States gave money to Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, ISIS. That's why. You know why? That's why. And he's making her pay a price for telling the truth to the American people about what their government actually did. And
is he not briefed on WikiLeaks himself?
And in 2019, on the Democratic presidential debate stage, you said of President Trump, this is a quote, "This current president is continuing to betray us. We were supposed to be going after Al-Qaeda, but over years now, not only have we not gone after Al-Qaeda, our president is supporting Al-Qaeda." So I'm interested to hear, what was your goal in saying these things? And did you consider, before saying them, the motives of Iran and Russia, what their motives might have been before making these claims?
Senator, as someone who enlisted in the military specifically because of Al-Qaeda's terrorist attack on 9/11 and committing myself and my life to doing what I could to defeat these terrorists, it was shocking and a betrayal to me and every person who was killed on 9/11, their families and my brothers and sisters in uniform. When, as a member of Congress, I learned about President Obama's dual programs that he had begun really to overthrow the regime of Syria, and being willing to, through the CIA's Timber Sycamore program that has now been made public, of working with and arming and equipping Al-Qaeda in an effort to overthrow that regime.
You can even go at this point. You can even go to Wikipedia, and they'll even tell you what timber sycamore is.
Oh, CIA had to put it on Wikipedia because it was so known.
It's so
all those things. Those guys going, oh,
yes. So timber sycamore was the program that Barack Obama directed the CIA to go fund Al-Qaeda, the people who attacked us on 9/11, fund them so that they could overthrow Assad. Why? So we can put it so that Saudi Arabia and Qatar could put a pipeline through. That's what it's really about. And Israel wants to take parts of Syria, which they have. So there's two reasons. So it's an oil pipeline, and it was Syria, and it was Israel. And so Barack Obama gave money to Al Qaeda. It's called Timber Sycamore. Look it up. And so she's now spanking the shit out of the astronaut and telling him the truth that he already knows.
Yeah, more like a head up his astronaut.
Yeah, that's right.
Starting yet another regime change war in the Middle East. DoD train and equip program, again, begun under President Obama, is widely been known, looked at, and studied, that ultimately resulted in over $500 million being used to train who they called moderate rebels, but were actually fighters working with and aligned with Al-Qaeda's affiliate on the ground in Syria, all to move forward with their regime change and not acknowledging what was obvious at the time and what has unfortunately borne true, which was that a regime change war in Syria, much like the regime change wars in Iraq, the toppling of Gaddafi and Mubarak, while these are all dictators, would likely result in the rise of Islamist extremists like Al-Qaeda taking power. I shed no tears for the fall of the Assad.
So she just said that when you get rid of, if you fund Al-Qaeda in Syria and they topple Assad, guess who's going to take over? Al-Qaeda. Just like when we got rid of Gaddafi. Guess who's going to take over? Terrorists. It's now a terrorist state.
Yeah.
And she was the one who told the truth about it. And now they got an astronaut to smear her at a Senate hearing about it on television. Fantastic. That's how corrupt your government is.
Hey, I thought we were against Islamists, but I guess they're cool sometimes.
No. Sometimes they love Islamists.
Regime, but today we have an Islamist extremist who is now in charge of Syria, as I said, who danced on the streets to celebrate the 9/11 attack, who ruled over Idlib with an Islamist extremist governance.
And so now Al-Qaeda is running Syria. Hooray! Congratulations.
Oh,
have you ever tried to tell your friends that, Kurt?
All the time.
And how do they take it?
I don't know. They just kind of blank out. People take it like, what? I don't, it's like that.
And who has already begun to persecute.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, what?
I wrote that joke for Rob Schneider to do, and that one, the crowd at Turning Point USA all was like, what?
Yeah, I know.
They liked all the others. They didn't, that one went like over their head. I have no idea.
And kill and arrest religious minorities like Christians in Syria.
I understand.
Why that should be acceptable to anyone is beyond me.
It is certainly not in our interest. I appreciate your answer, and thank you. My concern has to do with the tendency to repeat Russian.
There's a tendency for you to tell the truth like you just did.
Oh,
and I'm
shit,
supposed to oppose
truth?
you because I'm a Democrat. I'm supposed to oppose you. I'm supposed to oppose you for telling the truth about our foreign policy because we're in the pocket of the military-industrial complex in Wall Street, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to represent my people. I'm not going to do anything that has integrity or dignity. I'm going to sit here and mislead the people and slander a truth teller. Someone who's currently a colonel in the military.
You should never tell the truth if it in any way could help Russia.
That's right.
Truth being known. That's just called
Syrian,
basic.
and even in some cases, I think we'll get into in the closed session, Iranian information, and to discount what comes from our intelligence community.
Senator, every American deserves to know that people in our own government were providing support to our sworn enemy, Al-Qaeda. That should not be acceptable by anyone.
Thank you.
Bam!
Oh, wait till that JFK report comes out, you bald prick.
Bam!
I can't wait for that.
Boy, wow. Being back on Earth has not been kind to him. Must be the gravity.
Yeah.
So just
in space, lies are weightless.
And by the way, the media never the corporate media almost never mentions Timber Sycamore, which was the program, the CIA, that was what it was called, to fund terrorists, Al-Qaeda, who attacked us on 9/11 in Syria. It was called Timber Sycamore. This is how captured the mainstream media and the tech industry is. Not a single article today about Timber Sycamore. They refuse to report on it. And only the great Jeffrey Sachs keeps shouting this modern Iran-Contra affair story. How U.S. and Israel destroyed Syria and called it peace. There's Jeffrey Sachs telling you the truth about it. But the corporate media, nobody will tell you about it. Nobody will tell you about that. Oh, yeah, we actually got in bed with Al-Qaeda in Syria to overthrow Assad. Yeah. And they'll never tell you the truth about why. They'll never tell you why. Because of an oil pipeline, and so we can give more land to Israel. That's what it was all about. That's why they had to demonize Assad. That's why they funded Al-Qaeda. That's why they're smearing Tulsi Gabbard. That's why they smeared me. CNN still says I'm a conspiracy theorist because I told you the truth about the gas attacks. There's more. Watch Senator Mark Kelly try to challenge Tulsi Gabbard on the issue of Syria chemical weapons allegations. Note that when she twice invokes the OPCW whistleblowers, Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. That's what OPCW stands for. They did a report on the chemical attacks in Syria, and then when the official report came out, it didn't look anything like the evidence. And so the guys who were actually on the ground said, hey, they doctored this report. And they're called OPCW whistleblowers. And they told you the truth.
Yo, this guy's a scumbag, dude. He's the one that replaced Kristen Sinema.
Yeah, this guy's a scumbag. The astronaut's a scumbag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go. I'm pretty sure his wife was the one, Gabby Giffords, who got shot in the head, which makes him sympathetic.
Can you explain to me then why you doubted the intelligence community's conclusions in these two cases, Duma and Kanche Kun, but not the others? And please be specific.
These two cases were being looked at to be used as a pretext for major military movement. And my fear was a repeat of the deployment of another 500,000 soldiers like we saw in Iraq towards what was the Obama administration's goal, which was regime change in Syria. The question specifically that I raised around these two came about because there were two reasons. One, that assessment was made with high confidence and low information. The information that they had came from those on the ground in an Al-Qaeda controlled area and therefore were Al-Qaeda linked sources. And there was conflicting information that came from the UN's Office on the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons Inspectors, as well as an MIT professor, Ted Postel,
who
looked at these extensively.
So she's saying the reason why I said these two gas attacks, I questioned them, the official narrative of them, is because the information we got, came from Al-Qaeda, and whistleblowers at the OPCW told us also this MIT professor. That's why.
Did you look into his credentials, yes or no?
Yes.
And were you aware of his appearances on Russian Today, which is used by the Russians to disseminate government-approved messages?
No.
Were you aware Postal relied on a chemistry student with a record of defending the Assad regime?
At that time, I was not. I have been made aware since.
Do you consider this person or these two individuals now, do you consider them a better source for the chemistry of sarin gas than the U.S. intelligence community?
I assess that at the time, the information, I don't know the second person you're referring to, but MIT professor Ted Postel and the inspectors of the OPCW provided some credible questions that deserved examination.
Okay, thank you. Did you attempt to weigh Postel's claims against the significant evidence and assessments already conducted by the IC?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. So here's my concern here, Colonel. When we began this, you described a thoughtful approach to analyzing intelligence and reaching conclusions. This is what we expect of our professionals. But we just kind of walked through how you came to question Assad's use of chemical weapons in these two cases with a different approach. And I don't reject seeking out differing viewpoints. We need to do that. But you started from a place of doubting the conclusions of the U.S. intelligence community, and then you sought out information.
Which is a great place to start. You want to start by doubting what the CIA is telling you. That's a great place to start. And he's making her seem like, why aren't you a better person? How dare you question the CIA?
That confirmed your viewpoint. That led you to embrace the opinions of two individuals that I think we disagree on this. You think they had expertise, I do not, and others do not.
And he's completely ignoring the fact that she's talking about the whistleblowers from the OPCW. He's completely ignoring. She talked about it twice. He's focusing in on Ted Postal and some other guy we don't know who it is.
But these individuals were sympathetic to Russia and the Assad regime. It also led you to minimize or discount the overwhelmingly information that contradicted your viewpoint, including the expert assessments of our own intelligence community. And they don't get it right 100% of the time. I get that. But what I have seen makes it clear that at the same time that you were skeptical of our intelligence community's assessments, you would not apply the same skepticism to information that came from sympathizers of Russia and Assad. And I think that's something that we should all be concerned about. Thank you.
Yeah, well, both Russia and Assad are more trustworthy than the intelligence community, right. You bald prick. You absolute twat. You could trust Putin more than anyone in the CIA, you bald egg asshole. Wow, what a fuck he is.
So here's a guy who knows something about Syrian gas attacks, Aaron Mate. He says, for the first time in a U.S. government setting, the OPCW whistleblowers who challenged the cover-up of their chemical weapons investigation in Douma, Syria, were mentioned today. Tulsi Gabbard twice invoked them in response to Senator Mark Kelly's efforts to challenge her skepticism on specific allegations that Assad's forces used chemical weapons. The whistleblowers have been smeared by the OPCW but never refuted. The establishment media has also pretended that they don't exist, just like Mark Kelly, just like that senator, bald astronaut, just pretended they don't exist. He wouldn't even acknowledge them because their censored findings undermine a key pro-war narrative. That's why.
I want a Timber Sycamore t-shirt that says Timber Sycamore on it. Or like hashtag Timber Sycamore. Just that. No explanation. Just Timber Sycamore like it's a brand, like Timberland. And I want to wear it everywhere.
So if you want to know what really happened in Syria and why, people like Senator Mark Kelly will never tell you. The New York Times will never tell you. The Washington Post will never tell you. MSNBC, CNN, Fox, they'll never tell you. You know who will tell you? Tulsi Gabbard just told you. This show will tell you. We were on it first, debunking the gas attacks in Syria. Aaron Mate was on it and is still on it. You're not going to hear this. You're not going to hear it from the Young Turks. You're not going to hear it from people who have MSNBC contracts. You're not going to hear it on MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, New York Times, Washington Post. You're not going to hear it. You're not going to hear the truth about Syria. So that's the truth. The truth is we were funding Al-Qaeda, the terrorists who attacked us on 9/11, to overthrow Assad so we could put a oil pipeline through there and give part of it to Israel. And now Al-Qaeda is running Syria. Are you happy? Al-Qaeda is. Al-Qaeda.
Well, is Russia happy? Then I'll tell you if I'm happy. How does Russia feel about it?
Hey, we're doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, Dallas, Texas, Austin, Texas, Baltimore, Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.